Hello, I am here with Dr. Krista Crawford. She is a Vistage Chair and she has just completed the Resilient Transformation Academy with great success. And I'm so happy that you're here to share your transformational journey with us. Welcome.
Thank you, Julie. It's great to be here.
Great. I'd like to ask you, what were you facing before you started working with us in the Resilient Transformation Academy? What were some of your challenges?
I'm not sure we have enough time, but I main things I really wasn't sleeping well, as in I didn't have any problem falling asleep. It's just I would be wide awake 2 or 3 hours later. And the ripple effect to that was then by mid-afternoon, I just felt this extreme need to take a nap. I just couldn't maintain energy levels during the day. Um, had some bad habits. I certainly like to have a glass of wine in the evening, but that sometimes would turn into every night, maybe more than one. And I didn't like that habit. So ways to self-soothe that we do. In addition, I had gone through several family tragedies over the last few years and had moved a couple of times. And I found that my social circle had gotten really small. And quite frankly, I was lonely at times. So I think that sums up some of the big ones.
Yeah, you had a lot of things going on. And what was your main motivation for doing the program?
Well, I saw some of your information, and with me, often it takes more than one or two prompts. And I finally looked into it a little more and accepted an opportunity to speak with you. And then I went off and did a trip. And when I came back, I was ready to start the program.
Wonderful. And so when you first started the program, was there anything that you said, oh, I'm not quite sure of, like a skeptical try when you first started the program?
I'll be honest, and I've been honest with you in the past. I was a skeptic. I am a data person. I am also someone who believes in the power of positivity, but I wanted to see the data. And there is so much empirical evidence that you provide that I then in turn did my own research on. And there's so much supporting data for the techniques that you use in core performance.
Yes, we do have a lot of data that can track your progress. And so when you think about that and you're tracking your progress, and you did have some really amazing transformations during this program. And when you saw that data and it really worked for you, you had some pretty incredible results. And before we talk about those results, I want to ask you, what had you tried in the past to sleep through the night or change some of those bad habits that you didn't want to have anymore? What had you tried in the past?
Often we leaders think we can do it on our own. And we encourage others to reach out and get help. But, I did the usual things. I would take maybe a homeopathic to help me sleep, or I would take something over the counter to help me sleep. But I didn't really see any change in my sleeping pattern. I could still fall asleep really well, but I would wake up and the tape would be playing in my head. And I would want to fix whatever the tape was playing. So talking with friends, exercise, walking. I did all of those pieces, but I didn't really have a concerted program or process to use.
So, in coming into this program and the process, if you could share with the audience, what was it that changed and how did you start to sleep through the night and then be able to go back to sleep and then have that energy throughout the day? You want to explain a little bit about that?
Sure. And if any of my grad students hear this, they'll think this is ironic, but I often end my emails with a word breathe with exclamation point. It's something or a phrase, oxygen is good. But what I discovered is that I wasn't really using the proper breathing pattern. I didn't have the connection between the brain and the heart in terms of how you breathe and the process that you use and how your body lets you know when that's going well. I just didn't have that language or know that process. And that's probably the biggest aspect that I had changed. But there's also a piece that's more soft science in terms of having a group that you can speak to and be vulnerable, and people share what they're doing. That's also really important.
Yeah, that's one big aspect of the program is you have a group session every week. You also have individual sessions. You have an online academy, so you're supported with all these different modalities to help you move through the program and learn from others as well. And so, can you share a little bit more about the incredible results that you had with your sleeping, your energy levels, your internal dialogue, and just share with the audience a little bit more about that?
The sleep factor, I attended a conference about a month ago, and everyone kept asking me, "What have you had done? You look so much younger." And I said, "It's sleep. I can sleep through the night now. And if I don't, I have a technique that can help me get back to sleep." It is amazing how much I've always considered myself a good decision maker and I execute, but I just seem to have more clarity in the way that I get things done and the way I think about things. So sleep was a huge accomplishment. A second accomplishment, when I started the program, I was working on building a new group of Vistage members, and I, have achieved my goal of doing that. And actually, in just the last few days, that's taken place, and that's a huge. It's a really good way to lift your spirits, and that adds. I think sleep plays a big part in that. I also wanted to expand my social structure, and I've done that with dinners with friends. My guy and I still haven't found our couple, that our hangout couple, but we're working on it. So
You've had some incredible results. And I remember one of the things that you said was that you didn't want to have to take that afternoon nap every day because you weren't sleeping through the night. So were you able to transition through that and not take that nap every day because you were getting the sleep that you had desired?
yes, it's amazing. I'll be doing my work, or I'll be walking with a friend, and it'll be like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I haven't felt that need for a nap. I'll admit, on the weekends, I'll take that nap when I have an opportunity. So.
You know, what you're sharing is so big because I talk to so many people who are not sleeping through the night and they're trying all these different things. And you now sleeping through the night, you said you make decisions with even greater sense of clarity and confidence. You have more energy to work throughout the day. And one of the things that I hear from Vistas chairs is one of the hardest pieces is building their group. And when you started in this academy, you were moving towards building that group, and now you have it and you're launching it. You have more people than you thought you would have. So it seems like a lot of this is all feeding into itself in a holistic way of what you went through in the academy, to include not just sleep, but energy levels, confidence, internal dialogue. And can you share a little bit more about how that shifted you from the inside and how that is transferring into your life in different ways now?
One of the things I was really skeptical about in the beginning, in all honesty, is this idea that just changing some language would change behavior. It is amazing. And techniques that you learn in the program on how just changing a word or two in how you present yourself or how you think about something can make a big difference. So not allowing that negativity to come into the way you speak about yourself, or the way you speak about a process, or the way you speak about a goal, it really matters. And I'm not 100%, able to catch some of those phrases, but most of the time I can stop myself from putting that negative out. One thing in internal dialogue, when I would make a mistake, and no one should do this, but I would say, "Oh, stupid Krista." I don't do that anymore. And it was meant sort of as a joke or self-deprecation, but over time it wears you down. And I know I'm not stupid. So I've gotten rid of that. No more stupid Krista.
It's so amazing. You know, we talk so much about habits and patterns and how we develop them, and we develop them on the subconscious level, and we don't even realize they're playing until you go through the program. You start to catch yourself saying these things that we've said for years, and you realize, wow, that's really having a negative impact on me. So it sounds like you've caught a lot of those subconscious habits and patterns that weren't serving you. And we talk about neuroplasticity of the brain, like rewiring the brain. so that over the course of the time that you're in the program that you look back and you go, I just don't do that anymore. You've literally changed old habits and patterns that were on the subconscious level to something new and more empowering. And I remember a time that very recently that you had a mishap with one of your tires on the way to a presentation, and you completely handled that in a different in this situation very differently than you would have in the past. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was driving, 65, 70 miles an hour on an interstate, and I hit not a pothole, I call it a pot hump, and it blew out my tire. And I had to drive on, these are dry flat tires, and I was headed to a presentation. I managed, instead of pulling off the side of the road, I managed to get the parking lot where the presentation was. I got in, I gave my presentation, and only then did I call for AAA assistance. I didn't freak out. I didn't spin out of control. I was able to stop, breathe, get my thoughts together and prioritize, and I was able to execute. And then on the road with the person that was driving the wrecker, instead of again hyperventilating or feeling, oh poor me, I was able to enjoy a conversation with someone that I'd never met and see the road ahead as opposed to not. So it was a completely different experience than I probably would have had
Wow.
for the program.
Really huge. I mean, you've talked about so many things here, and it sounds just like the quality of your life has increased because you're not living in those survival hormones or the stress hormones, that you're able to shift out of that very quickly. You had the data to support you along the way in the program to show when you were in stress and when you're what we call coherence or flow state. So it sounds like you were able to apply those real time in your life in numerous situations so that you could show up as the amazing leader that you are and stay present and calm and on purpose.
Thank you,
Really,
Julie. It was obviously a lot of internal work, but it was a lot of help with you, with others, and with the group. So it's great.
well, you had an incredible transformation. And if you were going to sum this up and share it with a friend, how would you sum it up?
And I have shared it with a couple of friends that this is a program that brings out tools and techniques for you to be your best you. It's not complicated or hard, but you do need to have some dedication to actually execute what you're asked to do. And as long as you're willing to put that time in, you should receive a big return on your investment.
Beautiful. And it sounds like you have what we call a new baseline. And so, how are you going to be using this moving forward to have this system in place a year from now, or 2 or 5 years from now? How will you use it moving forward?
Um, we have tools we use in the program. I still have access to those tools. I still have access to people that I worked with. And I still have what I've learned up here and practicing the techniques. Practice, practice, practice. We are all continuous works in process.
Yes, we certainly are. And it has been a pleasure to work with you and to see you thrive. And I'm sure I'm going to continue to see you thrive in the future. So thank you for being part of this program and sharing your journey with us.
Thank you, Julie.